Welcome back to the Deep Dives, everybody. We're diving into something today that I think a lot of you have probably struggled with. We're constantly told that to become really good at something, like really mastering English, you either need to be like one of those naturally gifted types, or you've got to have hours and hours to just lock yourself away and study, study, study.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no wonder so many people feel stuck, right? Like they're putting in the work, but the progress is, well, let's just say, it's not exactly moving at lightning speed.
It's a common feeling for sure. It's almost like this universal struggle for language learners, isn't it? The path to fluency can feel like it's this long and winding road with twists and turns, and sometimes you just feel like you're going in circles.
Absolutely. But, and here's the big question, what if I told you that the real secret isn't about some magical talent you're born with or those crazy long study sessions that just leave you feeling completely exhausted? What if I told you it boils down to something much simpler? Something you could easily fit into your day without totally disrupting your routine. Something almost effortless.
I'm intrigued.
Have you ever just stopped for a second and thought about the impact that just 15 minutes, just 15, of focused English practice could have? Not like some huge commitment tomorrow or a big push next month, but consistently, every single day, day after day.
It might not seem like much at first glance, 15 minutes. It's like a drop in the ocean, right? But
Yeah.
I think it's worth digging into that idea a little bit because when we actually look at the way our brains learn new things, how they build new skills, especially with languages, that kind of daily consistent effort, well, it turns out to be way more powerful than most people realize.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack in this deep dive today. We're going to explore the science behind why consistency is so crucial, why it really does trump everything else. Then we're going to talk about why building good habits is like your secret weapon against that, let's be honest, pretty unreliable thing we call motivation. And the most important part, we're going to create a practical, easy to follow routine that you can actually use starting today. No complicated stuff, just real, lasting results.
I like it. Straightforward and actionable. And to get us started, maybe we can just jump right into the heart of the matter. Why is it that showing up every day, even if it's just for a little bit, is so much more effective than those sporadic bursts of intense study that a lot of people try to do?
Okay, so imagine this. Your brain, it's like this incredible network of pathways. Think of it like a massive superhighway system.
Okay, I can visualize that.
And every time you learn something new in English, whether it's a new word, a grammar rule, even a tricky pronunciation, you're essentially paving a new road on that highway system. Now, here's the thing. The more you travel down that road, the more you use that new word or that grammar rule, the wider and smoother that road gets. Like it becomes this well-paved highway that's super easy to travel on.
Yeah.
That's what's happening in your brain. That's neuroplasticity in action.
And the amazing part is just how efficient our brains are, right? Like if you build one of those pathways, but then you don't really use it that often, your brain, it's like it figures, well, this road doesn't seem very important, and it starts to let it kind of overgrow, like a garden path that nobody uses anymore.
I get it.
And that's exactly why you might struggle to remember things you learned a while ago. Those pathways, those connections in your brain, they've just weakened from lack of use. It's use it or lose it, really.
It really is. And,
Yeah.
it makes me think about working out, getting in shape.
Hmm.
You wouldn't expect to run a marathon if you only train once a month, right?
Right. Yeah.
But if you go for even a short jog every single day, even if it's just around the block a couple of times, over time, you build up that stamina. Learning English, it's like a mental workout for your brain. Those consistent, regular efforts, they build strength over time.
Absolutely. And I think it's really helpful to remember how we all learned our first language. It wasn't through textbooks and grammar drills as babies, right? It was just this constant immersion. We heard it all around us all the time. We tried to speak, even if it was just babbling at first, day in and day out. It's almost like we were learning without even realizing we were studying. And that same principle, that daily exposure, you can tap into that with English, even if it's just in shorter focus bursts.
There's this really fascinating thing, I forget what it's called, but it's basically where you revisit information at different intervals.
Spaced repetition.
Yes. Spaced repetition. Thank you. Research actually shows that spaced repetition is way more effective for remembering things long term than trying to, like, cram everything all at once. And get this, studies suggest that just 15 to 30 minutes of daily practice can be way more impactful than those longer, less frequent study sessions.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about reinforcing those connections in your brain over time.
Right. So we're all on board with consistency being the key. But let's be real for a second. Sometimes the hardest part is just getting started and then actually sticking with it. I think we've all been there waiting for that burst of motivation to hit us like a bolt of lightning.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling.
Or sometimes we're just too tired or just like not feeling it. Yeah.
I think a lot of learners get caught in that motivation trap where they're waiting for that perfect moment or that surge of inspiration before they engage with English. But motivation, honestly, it's unpredictable. It's like the weather, it can change in an instant. And if you only practice English when you're feeling super enthusiastic, well, your progress is going to be all over the place, kind of sporadic. And ultimately, that inconsistency can be frustrating, and sometimes it even leads people to just give up completely, which is a shame.
So, okay, if we can't always count on motivation to magically appear, then what's the strategy? How do those successful language learners, the ones who actually reach fluency, how do they keep going, even on those days when they just really don't feel like it?
The key is to shift your focus away from relying on motivation and to build those really solid habits instead. Think about something you do every single day without even thinking about it. Something like brushing your teeth, right?
Yeah, I brush my teeth every day.
Exactly. You don't wake up every morning and have this big debate in your head about whether or not you feel like brushing your teeth, right? Right.
Yeah.
It's just automatic. It's a part of your routine. And that's the kind of automaticity that we want to aim for with your English practice.
Got it. So how do we actually create those kinds of deeply ingrained habits for learning English? What are some concrete steps?
One really effective way is to choose a specific time each day for your English practice and to stick to it no matter what.
I know.
Could be while you're having your morning coffee, during your lunch break, even right before bed. The real magic happens when you connect this new habit to something you already do automatically.
Like if I always have a cup of tea at 3 p.m., I could listen to an English podcast for a few minutes while I'm drinking my tea.
Exactly. That's often called habit stacking.
Habit stacking. Okay, I see how that makes sense.
Yeah.
Basically using that existing habit as a trigger for the new one.
Exactly. And another really, really powerful thing to remember is to start small. Don't set these huge, ambitious goals right from the beginning, like, I'm going to study for an hour every day.
Yeah, that sounds overwhelming.
It can be. It can be so daunting that people give up before they even really get started.
Right.
Instead, start with something ridiculously easy, like 5 minutes, just 5 minutes of focused practice each day.
Okay.
In the beginning, the goal isn't to become fluent in those 5 minutes. It's to make that daily habit rock solid.
So 5 minutes no matter what. Got it.
And then if you find yourself wanting to keep going after 5 minutes, that's amazing. But even if you stop right there, you still reinforce that daily routine.
So, to our listeners out there, what's one tiny English activity that you could commit to doing for just 5 minutes right after this deep dive ends? Think about it for a second. It could be anything, like listening to a short English news report, learning one new vocabulary word, reading a few sentences from a website. You could even just say a few things out loud to yourself in English. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Exactly. In the beginning, the specific activity matters less than just taking that first step and doing something.
So the takeaway here is that to really succeed with English, you don't need to wait for those random moments of inspiration or motivation. It's all about those small, consistent habits, those things you do day after day, almost automatically.
That's what it comes down to. It's that consistent engagement, that daily practice that ultimately leads to fluency.
You know, it reminds me of something I read about a while ago, something called the 1% rule. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh yeah, the 1% rule. I love that concept. It's so powerful because it's all about those tiny incremental improvements that most people don't even think about.
Can you explain it a little bit for those who haven't heard of it?
Of course. So imagine this. You improve your English skills by just 1%, a tiny little bit each day. In the short term, you probably won't even notice it, right? But then think about what happens when those little 1% improvements compound over a whole year. It becomes huge. The results can be astonishing.
So it's kind of like compound interest, but for language learning.
Precisely. It's that same principle of compound growth, and it works amazingly well for language learning. So many learners get discouraged because they're looking for those quick, overnight results. They want to learn a ton of vocabulary all at once or magically master grammar in a weekend. But true fluency, that lasting fluency, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's built upon all those tiny daily improvements that add up over time.
I've heard you use a really great analogy about an airplane and how a tiny course correction can make a huge difference.
Oh, yes. Think about a plane flying across the world, right?
Okay.
If the pilot makes even a tiny adjustment to the course, like just 1 degree, the passengers probably wouldn't even feel it, right?
Probably not, no.
But over thousands of miles, that 1 degree shift can mean the difference between landing in Paris and landing in Rome. It's the same with your English journey. Those small, consistent changes you make to your daily routine, they might seem insignificant at first, but they lead to huge changes in your fluency in the long run.
That's such a great visual, that tiny course correction leading to a whole new destination. So how can people actually use this 1% rule in their daily English practice? What are some small, specific things that our listeners can start doing today?
Oh, there are so many ways. It could be as simple as learning 3 to 5 new words each day and then trying to use those words in real conversations. Or you could try speaking in English for just 5 minutes every day. You could even talk to yourself, record yourself speaking, or practice imitating a native speaker.
Like shadowing, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
shadowing. Or how about reading just one short article in English and writing down 1 or 2 interesting phrases that you come across?
Okay.
And you could even try listening to English podcasts or watching short videos while you're doing other things like commuting or cooking.
I do that.
And even writing a short paragraph in English each day can make a huge difference over time. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just write about your day, your thoughts, anything at all.
All of those sound super manageable.
They are. That's the whole point. The great thing is that they fit into your life without requiring a ton of extra effort. And the best part is, all those small actions, they really do add up over time. Every new word, every minute spent speaking, every article you read, they all contribute to your fluency.
It's those tiny actions, those 1% improvements that eventually turn into fluency.
Precisely. It's the consistency that matters most.
All right, so we're aiming to make English as automatic as brushing our teeth, right? We want it to become a habit. So what are some real concrete strategies for building those rock-solid English habits that stick?
The key is to make it as easy as possible to bring English into your daily routine, to make it almost effortless. Here are 5 things you can try.
Okay, lay them on me.
First, remember habit stacking, which we talked about earlier. It's all about linking your English practice to something you already do every day.
Right.
Think about those fixed points in your routine, those things you do without even thinking. Then figure out how to attach a small English activity to one of those habits. We talked about listening to a podcast while you drink your coffee or reading after lunch. You could even practice speaking while you're getting dressed or write a quick note in English before bed.
The more specific that link is, the better.
Right, exactly. The second strategy, and this one is so important, is to keep it simple. Resist that urge to set these big, ambitious goals right away.
Right.
Starting small is the key. 5 minutes a day, that's all you need. Remember, in the beginning, the goal is to build the habit, not to become fluent overnight.
5 minutes a day, I could do that. What's the next strategy?
The third thing you can do is use triggers to remind yourself to practice. Life gets crazy busy. It's easy to forget about new habits, even when we really want to stick with them. That's where reminders come in handy.
Right.
Try setting alarms on your phone. And don't just write practice English.
Yeah, that's too vague.
Be specific, like listen to 5 minutes of an English podcast or leave English books or flashcards in places where you'll see them throughout the day. On your desk, by your bed, in your bag. Some people even change the language on their phone to English so they're constantly seeing it.
I like that idea. Those visual cues are a good idea. So what's number 4?
Strategy number 4 is to track your progress and celebrate those little wins. You don't have to make it complicated.
Right.
Just mark off the days you practice on a calendar. You could use a notebook or an app on your phone if you prefer.
Okay.
When you see those check marks or those completed tasks, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. It keeps you motivated. And don't forget to celebrate those wins, even if they seem small. Did you understand a new word in a movie? Did you have a short conversation in English?
Celebrate it.
Yes. Acknowledge those victories no matter how small.
Okay, makes sense. What's the last strategy?
The last one is a really good one for preventing those little slip-ups from turning into big setbacks. It's this. Never skip twice.
Never skip twice.
We all miss a day now and then, right? Life happens. But the key is to not let one missed day become 2, then 3, and so on. If you miss a day, just make sure you get back on track the very next day.
Never skip twice. I love that. That's easy to remember. So by doing those 5 things, by linking English to our daily routine, starting small, using reminders, tracking progress, and following the never skip twice rule, we can create those super strong English habits that really stick. Right.
Exactly. The goal is to make learning English just as automatic as brushing your teeth. It's something you just do without having to think about it too much.
Okay, so we've talked about getting started and building those solid habits, but how to keep that motivation going over weeks, months, even years? That initial enthusiasm that we might feel, it tends to fade over time.
That's a great question, and it's true. That initial burst of energy can be hard to sustain, especially when you're in it for the long haul. You need to shift from that short-term excitement to a long-term commitment.
Yeah. So how do we do that?
Well, here are 6 things that I find really help. First, you need to get really clear on your why. Why are you learning English? What are your reasons? Is it for your job? For travel? Maybe you want to watch movies without subtitles or read English books.
Or connect with people from other cultures.
Exactly. Whatever your reasons are, make sure they are super clear in your mind, that you really connect with them. It can help to actually write them down. Put them somewhere you'll see them every day, like on your phone or on your desk. When you remind yourself why you're doing this, it's much easier to stay motivated, even when things get tough.
Make it personal.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. What else? What's the second strategy?
The second thing is to make it fun. If learning English starts to feel like a chore, well, you're probably not going to stick with it, are you?
No, not for very long.
There are so many fun ways to learn. Watch your favorite movies and shows in English, listen to English music, read books and articles about things you're interested in. You can play English language games online, join online communities, and even just chat with people in English.
Turn it into something you enjoy, not a chore. Got it. So what's number 3?
The third strategy is all about immersion. It's about surrounding yourself with the English language as much as possible.
Right.
Think about it this way. If you lived in an English-speaking country, you'd be hearing and seeing English all around you, right?
Of course.
Well, you can recreate that environment to a certain extent, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country.
Okay, how do you do that?
Try changing the language on your phone and computer to English. Follow English-speaking people on social media. Read English news websites, and even try thinking in English throughout the day. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more natural it will start to feel.
So immerse yourself in the language, make it part of your daily life. Okay, what about number 4?
Number 4 is really important for your mindset. It's this. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people struggle with that one.
They do. It's totally understandable. When you make mistakes, it can feel discouraging. But the truth is, mistakes are a necessary part of the learning process.
I guess so. It's how we learn.
They show you where you need to improve. It's like when a baby is learning to walk. They fall down all the time, but they don't give up. They get back up and keep trying. So change your mindset about mistakes. Instead of thinking, oh, I made a mistake, I'm bad at English, think, okay, I made a mistake, so now I know what to work on.
Learn from the mistakes, yeah, not fear them. What's the fifth strategy?
Number 5 is to celebrate those small wins along the way. Don't wait until you feel perfectly fluent to feel proud of yourself. Instead, focus on those small achievements. Did you understand a whole sentence in a movie? Did you learn a new word and use it in a conversation? Did you watch a whole video in English?
Right.
Those are all victories, and they deserve to be celebrated.
Absolutely. Celebrate those milestones. It's so easy to just focus on the end goal and forget to enjoy the journey along the way.
Right. And lastly, number 6, find a support system. Learning a language can be challenging and it can be lonely at times, so connect with other people who are learning English.
Yeah, like a study buddy.
Exactly. You can join study groups, find a language partner, participate in online forums.
Right.
Sharing your experiences with other learners, both the good and the bad, can really help you stay motivated. And if you prefer to study alone, you can still track your progress, record yourself speaking, or find ways to engage with English content on your own.
Okay, so even if you don't have someone to practice with, you can still create that support system for yourself in other ways. So much great advice here. I always find it really motivating to hear real-life stories about people who have successfully learned English. People who've actually used these principles and achieved fluency.
I agree. It's so inspiring to hear about those real-world success stories. They show us that it really is possible to achieve fluency.
Do you have any stories you can share with us?
Absolutely. So first, let's talk about Maria from Brazil. She had taken English classes on and off for years, but she always felt like she was hitting a plateau. The thing that really changed everything for her was when she decided to read something in English, anything at all, every single day. She started with really basic children's books, then she worked her way up to news articles and eventually even novels. In the beginning, she had to look up tons of words, but she stuck with her daily reading habit. And after about 6 months, she noticed a huge improvement in her vocabulary. She even started to think in English more often.
Wow, that's amazing.
Now she's a confident reader and speaker, all because she made that commitment to read every day. She always says, reading daily changed everything for me. Just start small and be consistent.
That's a great example of how focusing on one specific skill consistently can make a huge difference. So who's next?
Okay, so then there's Ahmed from Egypt. He really wanted to work for an international company, but he felt like his English speaking skills were holding him back.
Right.
He was super nervous and self-conscious when he tried to speak, so he set a very simple goal for himself. He decided to speak in English for just 10 minutes every day, no matter what. He would talk to himself, he'd record himself speaking on his phone, and he would practice shadowing videos of native speakers. In the beginning, he made tons of mistakes, but he didn't let that stop him. He kept practicing. And after just 3 months, he felt so much more confident. After a year of consistent speaking practice, he actually got his dream job.
That's so inspiring.
It is, isn't it? He always tells people, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Speaking every day helped me overcome my fear.
Overcoming that fear of speaking, that's such a common obstacle for language learners.
Right.
Okay, who else do we have?
All right, next up is Lian from China. She really wanted to improve her English writing skills, but she was completely overwhelmed by the thought of writing long essays or reports.
I feel that.
So she started with an incredibly small habit. She decided to write just one sentence in English every day.
Just one sentence.
Just one. She would write about her day, her thoughts, anything at all that came to mind. And guess what? Gradually, that one sentence became 2 sentences, then a paragraph. Eventually, she found herself writing entire journal entries in English. After about a year of this daily writing habit, she even started her own blog in English.
Wow. She started with one sentence a day, and now she has a blog.
Amazing, right? Her advice is, writing one sentence a day might seem too simple, but it helped me build confidence and fluency. It works.
That's such a powerful reminder that even the tiniest, most consistent actions can lead to really big results.
And finally, we have Javier from Spain. He always struggled to understand spoken English. Movies and TV shows, they felt way too fast for him.
Right.
So he started listening to slow English podcasts for just 5 minutes a day. At first, he could only understand a few words here and there, but he was consistent. Over time, his listening comprehension got so much better. Now, he watches movies and TV shows in English without any subtitles at all. His tip is, start with something easy and then gradually increase the difficulty as you get better.
All of these stories are so incredible and so motivating. What do you think is the biggest takeaway from all of these people's experiences?
The thing they all have in common is this. They all became fluent, not through some crazy intense studying or some magic shortcut, but by making a commitment to practicing a little bit every day. They focused on different skills, reading, speaking, writing, listening, but the one thing that united them was consistency.
They were consistent, even when it was just for a few minutes each day.
Exactly. They showed up day after day, and these stories really show that anyone can learn English no matter how busy they are. You don't need to be a genius or have hours and hours to study. All you need is a simple daily habit that you can stick with.
So, based on everything we've talked about today, is there a simple daily routine that our listeners can use? Something that's easy to follow, even if they have a busy schedule?
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to take hours. Even 15 to 30 minutes of focused practice every day can make a huge difference.
Okay, 15 to 30 minutes, got it.
Let's break it down into 3 parts: morning, afternoon, and evening.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start with the morning. How can people incorporate English practice into their morning routine?
In the morning, the focus should be on listening.
Okay.
Just 5 to 10 minutes of listening to spoken English first thing in the morning is a great way to wake up your brain. You could listen to a short podcast, watch a quick video, maybe even listen to an audiobook while you're getting ready or having breakfast. And by the way, you're already doing it right now just by listening to this deep dive.
Perfect. That's something that a lot of people can easily fit into their existing morning routines.
Yeah.
What about the afternoon? How do we sneak in some practice then?
For the afternoon, let's focus on writing.
Okay.
Now, I'm not talking about writing a whole essay. Just try writing 1 paragraph in English every day.
1 paragraph.
Yep, 1 paragraph. It could be about anything. Just write about your day, describe something you see, jot down a few thoughts. Don't worry too much about perfect grammar at this stage. The main thing is to get used to expressing yourself in writing.
1 paragraph, that sounds doable. And then in the evening.
For the evening, you have 2 choices. You can either focus on speaking or watching. Again, just 5 to 10 minutes is all you need.
Okay, choices.
If you want to work on your speaking skills, try having a short conversation with a language partner online. You could also just talk to yourself in English or even record yourself speaking.
Right.
Shadowing is a great technique too, where you listen to a native speaker and try to repeat what they're saying. Or if you want to do something a little more passive in the evening, try watching a short video in English, a TV show clip, or even a scene from a movie. If it helps, you can use subtitles at first, but eventually try watching without subtitles.
So listening in the morning, writing in the afternoon, and speaking or watching in the evening, that covers all the bases. And just 15 to 30 minutes total spread throughout the day, that sounds really manageable.
Right. And the best part is that it's flexible. If you miss a day here and there, don't stress about it. The most important thing is consistency over time.
It's about the long game, not about being perfect every single day. So for everyone listening, here's a challenge for you. Try following this routine for the next 7 days, just a week. See how it feels. See if you notice any small changes in your English.
It's a great way to experience the benefits of consistent practice.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to talk directly to you, the listener, for a moment. Learning English, like any new skill, it's going to have its ups and downs. There will be days when you feel super motivated and like you're making tons of progress, and there will be other days when you might feel frustrated, like you're not moving forward.
That's completely normal.
And that's completely normal as part of the process.
Everyone goes through it.
But it's important to remember that every single time you practice, even if it's just for a few minutes, you are moving forward. Even if you don't see those big results right away, your brain is working in the background. It's making those connections that will eventually lead to fluency.
It's like planting a seed. You don't see the growth right away, but it's happening beneath the surface.
Think back to those stories we talked about earlier. Those people didn't become fluent by cramming for hours every once in a while. They became fluent because they practiced consistently, a little bit each day.
Consistency is the key. It's what makes all the difference.
So if you're listening right now and you've ever doubted yourself or if you felt like giving up, please don't. It's not a matter of if you'll become fluent in English. It's a matter of when, as long as you keep practicing, as long as you keep showing up.
You absolutely can do it, and you're not alone on this journey.
So here are your next steps. Create your own daily English routine. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just 15 to 30 minutes a day will do.
That's a great starting point.
Be consistent. And most importantly, believe in yourself. You've got this.
You do. Now take a moment to think about what one small, consistent step you can commit to taking right now, right after you finish listening to this. What's one tiny action you can take to start building your English fluency habit?
The secret to fluency isn't some magical secret. It's just consistent effort. Thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive today.